Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Shade Marie. Today I'll be doing my July wrap up. Before I get started, if you're new to this channel, please don't hesitate to subscribe down below as well as notification bell. And if you're new, hi, hello, I'm Stephanie. I do a lot of bookish content, and honestly, like, the past couple weeks have been a ride, to be quite honest. So I've been a little behind in filming this video, but let's just get right into the books I read for this past month. So for July, even though it was kind of a meh month for me, I did manage to read a total of 16 books, which means I read a total of 5,791 pages. And out of those 16 books, I gave 2 books 2 stars, 4 books 3 stars, 1 book 3.5 stars, 6 books that were 4 stars, and then 3 books that were 4.5 stars. Honestly, there were just 2 books that were just not the greatest, and the rest were pretty decent overall. So the first book I want to talk about is All the Rage by Sabaa Tahir. This book I gave 3 stars. To be honest, I kind of went into this book with like little to no expectations because her other series, the really famous YA fantasy series, I really only enjoyed the first book and maybe 2 books, and then after that I kind of just went downhill from there. So I was really curious to see how her contemporary book will hold up, but because of my experience with her fantasy book, I had like very little to no expectations. But I have to say this book was just an okay book for me overall. So this book follows 2 timelines. One is back in the day in Pakistan, and the other timeline is in Juniper, California, in today's like world. So back in Pakistan, it follows this arranged marriage, and now it follows these 2 teenagers. Their name is Salahuddin, I think that's how you pronounce it, and Noor, who are best friends, or were best friends. But then some sort of fight happened between the 2 of them, and now they're just going on their separate paths. Sal is trying to deal with his family's motel after finding out his mother's declining health, among other various situations that are happening. And Noor is dealing with just trying to leave Juniper for good after dealing with her uncle, who runs a liquor store, but there's just like something sinister happening in the background. For me, I felt like this book was, I don't know, like ups and downs for sure. I felt like I liked the messages that were presented in this book, but I felt like the execution was very subpar, and it didn't really like entice me to like really want to read it. It didn't grip me in that sense, and I feel like that's kind of what I expected for a book like this. And since that didn't deliver, I felt it was just an okay read. Then the next book I picked up is Every Vow You Break by Peter Swanson. This book I gave 4.5 stars. This book was so fascinating. It basically follows a woman, her name is Abigail, where she meets this sexy millionaire. His name is Bruce, and she ends up falling in love with him, and they end up getting married. But then obviously before she gets married, she goes on a bachelorette weekend, and there she finds this like super handsome stranger, and things kind of happen between the 2 of them. But fast forward to the wedding, and she's like, you know what, let's forget about it. Nothing happened. It didn't mean anything. I was just really drunk. And then now they're on their honeymoon. But then as the story kind of progresses, she finds out that something is not right with the situation at their honeymoon, as well as her husband, and just like what exactly is going on. This book was really freaking suspenseful. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed learning about the characters and just uncovering the truth behind this sinister like honeymoon destination. Like, what exactly is happening, what is going on, and there were just so many like twists and turns. Like, this book definitely took me on a ride, because there were times when I felt like the book was going to go one way, and I was like prepared mentally, but then it didn't, and I was just like, what happened, like what is going on right now? So if you're looking for that kind of book, this is definitely it for that. The next book I picked up is When in Rome by Sarah Adams. This book I gave 4 stars. It follows a woman, her name's Amelia Rose, or she's better known as Ray Rose, who is this insanely famous like pop singer, and one day she's just trying to escape her life. She's like, you know what, I'm done with this, I want to just escape. And she ends up going on some sort of journey that is heavily influenced by her favorite actress, Audrey Hepburn, and she ends up going to Rome, but not Rome, Italy, Rome, Kentucky. And she gets there with her car and accidentally causes an accident and ends up at this random dude's front lawn. And this guy, his name is Noah Walker, and he wants absolutely nothing to do with her. He's just like, can you get out of here? But at the same time, he's also like, you know what, like she's obviously in a situation, let me try to help her out, but also wants nothing to do with her. So kind of like a lot of back and forth between his thoughts there. But obviously as the book kind of progresses, the two of them end up forming some sort of bond and friendship and love, and like I really enjoyed this story. I thought it was really heartwarming. I really enjoyed just reading about her like struggles as a famous singer, and also just the relationship, just like what does it mean to be in a relationship that it's gonna be hard, you know, like what does it mean to have to work for your relationship? And I just felt like I really enjoyed those messages, because I mean Noah Walker is just like a regular average dude, and Ray Rose, or Amelia Rose, is like incredibly famous, beautiful, successful, all of that, but somehow they're trying to make it work out. And I just really like some of the sacrifices that they both have to make, or not the sacrifice, but like compromises that they both have to make this relationship work out. And it just shows that like at the end of the day, like what love is and how important they are to each other. So I really enjoyed this book overall. The next book I picked up is Say You Still Love Me by K.A. Tucker. This book I gave 4 stars. So this book follows a woman, her name is Piper, where she is 29 years old, basically a new VP at her dad's extremely wealthy and successful real estate development firm, and she's trying to prove to herself that she deserves this role. She's worked her ass off to get this role, and at the same time though, like she's just dealing with a lot of like sexism in the office, because everyone's like, you know, you're not a dude, can you really do this? And plus like ageism too, because everyone's like, you're too young, can you really do this? And she's trying to prove everyone that she's got this, she got this handled. But of course there's lots of like co-workers who are just trying to not sabotage her per se, but just undermine her. And on the other side, suddenly one day she ends up meeting face to face with a new security guard who happens to be the love of her life from back in summer camp. And so this book kind of takes place back and forth between the summer camp when she first meets Kyle, and now the present day when she is the successful person, but also wondering if there is still something between her and Kyle and if things will work out this time around. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was incredibly well done. I love the characters, I love the story, I love the way how the book progressed. I love the flashbacks too, because I was listening to an audiobook and sometimes it kind of gets away from me, like in terms of flashbacks and like back and forth timelines, because it can be a little confusing. But I felt like the way how the author presented and also the narrator did a really good job of making it very clear when each chapters were taking place, so I wasn't lost. The only reason why I didn't give this book 5 stars is because I did feel that while this book started off incredibly interesting, at some point it kind of like lagged a little bit and the pacing kind of like went down, and so I just felt like it didn't have that continued momentum for me to be like, oh my god, what's going to happen? But I did talk about a lot more in one of my reading vlogs, which I'll link above and down below in case you want to check that out. The next book I picked up is Briarheart by Mercedes Lackey, and for this book I gave 3.5 stars. This book is basically a feminist reinterpretation of Sleeping Beauty, and it's supposed to be for fans of Stepsister and The Cruel Prince, and it follows a girl, her name is Miriam, who is the daughter of the queen but not the daughter of the king, because her mother used to be married to, I want to say like a knight or like the king's champion, and her father ended up passing away in battle. And then the king was also really good friends of her parents, had a great relationship throughout their time together, and then after he passed away, the king kind of stepped in a couple months later or a couple years later and basically asked her mom in marriage. So now she's essentially like the stepdaughter of the king, and as the story progresses, obviously the queen and king now have a new baby, and she's just like in love with the baby as well, wants to protect the baby. But then on the day of this little girl's like christening, a dark fae arrives unannounced and basically puts a curse on the child. Well, she's about to, until Miriam shows up and somehow proves that she has an impossible power. And so the book kind of takes place with the aftermath of that, like what's she gonna do with this power now that she realizes she has it? How is she going to protect her baby sister, etc, etc. I actually really enjoyed this. I was a little hesitant because I did read another like feminist reimagining, reinterpretation of Red Riding Hood, and I really did not like it. So ever since that, I feel like when books have like a feminist retelling, it kind of triggers me because I'm just like, is it going to be good? Is it not going to be good? But this book was actually really good and I really enjoyed it. It wasn't like a 4-star or 5-star read for sure, but I enjoy the story overall, so I still highly recommend this. So the next 2 books I picked up is Barbarians Taming as well as Barbarians Heart. These books I both gave 4 stars, and this is also part of the Ice Planet Barbarian series. So I felt like these 2 books actually had more of a plot per se compared to the previous ones. I mean, they all have a plot of some sort, but I really like the way how book 8 kind of like brought things. like where it led, and then book 9 actually continued with the aftermath of that. I feel like generally speaking it's like a loose aftermath of the previous book, but this one was very much a direct series, and it definitely felt that way, which is really different compared to other books. So I really enjoyed this book a little bit more. It might even be like a 4.5 stars for both of these books, to be quite honest, but at the end of the day these are just pure fun, pure entertainment, lots of smut as always, and I am waiting for the next book in the series to be available on my Libby ASAP. The next book I picked up is one that I gave 2 stars, and that is Gotham High by Melissa De La Cruz. This is a graphic novel, very short, and I just really didn't care much for this. It basically follows Gotham High, where Bruce is a teenager, and I don't know, for some reason I thought that there were like other superheroes that were like their high school, but that's not the case. It's purely just Bruce, who later becomes a superhero. But I just felt like it was just an okay read. Like there was nothing interesting. I felt like very disconnected with the story because I was reading it to get a glimpse of their high school years, and while I did get that for Bruce, I thought there'd be more superheroes involved, and that was not the case. And not just that, but I didn't realize that Bruce is like half Cantonese, at least according to this book. Like his mom is like a famous Hong Kong person, and I'm just like, how come none of the Bruce Waynes that are represented in like TV and social media has ever been half Asian? Like you would think with someone who's like half Cantonese would be half Chinese, you know, like I mean, like it's just like I thought that was super weird. So I don't know if that's actually like true or if Melissa De La Cruz like loosely did that, but yeah, I just thought it was like at odds with all the Bruce Waynes I know in films compared to this one. So anyways, so the next 3 books I picked up were part of a series. The first one is Guild, which I gave 4 stars. The second one is Glint, which I gave 4.5 stars. And the third book is Gleam, which I gave 4 stars. This is definitely a series I enjoyed immensely. I actually already finished the 4th book, but I finished that in August, so I'll talk about that then. Really enjoyed the series. I cannot wait for the 5th and final book to come out. I definitely enjoyed the second book a lot more because I feel like it had a lot more character development with Auron and just like the obstacles that she had to go through, the journey that she had to face, and I really enjoyed that. So which is why I like the second book most, but I did also really enjoy the first one too, because I feel like I definitely discovered a lot of stuff, or like I uncovered a lot of things that was like shocking to me. But this whole series basically follows King Midas, and it's a retelling of him and the statue of a woman that he go touched. Like that's the original story, I believe, and this book follows the girl, and it was just really fascinating. Also, this is a lot smuttier than I thought. Like obviously still not that smutty. I mean, like 2 scenes kind of smut is what I'm talking about, but when it does go into smut, it is a little bit on the graphic side, so I'm like, oh okay. Plus the first book also like just started off with a bang, like literally. So if you're looking for that, highly recommend this one. I can see what the hype is about. Really enjoyed it overall. Just a really enjoyable read. The next 2 books I picked up are part of a series. The first one is A Study in Charlotte, which I gave 3 stars. Then I also read the sequel, It's Last of August, which I gave 2 stars. And then from there I decided to just DNF the entire series because while it's interesting, it is not that interesting. I did listen to an audiobook because I was like, oh, it would be like some cozy mystery that's similar to the Holly Jackson series or Truly Devious, but like that was not the case. Like I was very bored while reading this book. It was a slog to get through. I don't even know why I picked up the second book, to be quite honest, because I was already kind of like not really feeling it, but I was really hopeful that it would just pick up once like things are established. So I picked up the second book hoping that things would pick up. Did not happen. In fact, it got worse. So after the second book I was like, yeah, I'm done. Like I just not gonna read it anymore. It's just not that great. But I did manage to finish it, so like I really should not have finished it. Like I really should have just DNF'd it in the first book. Like that would have saved me so much grief, I think, but it is what it is. But this book basically follows Charlotte Holmes, who is like the famous detective's like great granddaughter, and who not only inherited his incredible genius genes but also his volatile temperament. And then it also follows Jamie, who is also the great grandson of Watson, and he wants like nothing to do with her, but then things kind of happen and now the two of them are connected. They're going through some mysteries and solving some cases together, but I don't know, like I just thought it'd be like a really good cozy type of read, and that was just not the case. The next book I picked up is This Time Will Be Different by Misa Sugiura. This book I gave 3 stars. I felt like this book could have been really impactful, but that wasn't really what I got out of it. So it follows CJ, who is 17 years old, and it says over here that Katsuyamas never quits. But the thing is, she doesn't even know how to even get started. And she just never really lived up to her mom's like type A expectations, and she actually just was like mostly happy just helping with her aunt in the flower shop until her mom's like, you know what, because of money situations, we're going to sell the shop to the McAllisters, who actually swindled her family back in the day because of the Japanese internment camp. And so now there's some sort of like rift that splinters between her and her friends and her family because of this situation. And I felt like this book could have been really impactful, like I said already, but the execution honestly just did not live up to my expectations. It could have been really good, but I don't know. I just came out of it being very like, meh, like it's such a mediocre of a book. So the last 2 books I read was part of the Namsara series. I did a whole dedicated reading vlog on it, so I'll link that above and down below to check it out. But I did give The Cage Queen, which is book 2, 4.5 stars, and I gave Sky Weaver, book 3, just 3 stars. I'm not gonna rehash everything because I did go into detail in that video, but the second book was amazing. I really enjoyed the character developments, the characters themselves, the story, the plot, like all of that was a lot more fascinating. The third book, honestly, I think was, like if I had to pick between the 3 books, this is probably my least favorite one, just because I just didn't feel that connection between one of the main characters. Like she was a completely new character in this book, whereas the other 2 books, they were just like actual characters from previous books that I already had some sort of inkling with. And not just that, but this one had a lot of like mystery, or like not mystery, but like things that just were not revealed until the very end of like who this person actually is. And so because of that, I just didn't feel a connection. Like if it made me feel even more disconnected, if that makes any sense, because I'm trying to figure out who this person is, but then a very core component of who this person was not revealed until the very end. So like I don't have the full picture, you know? So I don't know, I just felt like it was just very of a series, like especially this book. But the second book was honestly such a gem. So if I were you, I'd probably just pick up the first 2 books and call it a day, because each book also follows different characters. But that's kind of it in terms of what I can say for this book. So anyways, what to say for this video, let me know down below what you read for July, and if you have read any of these books before, and if you have, what do you guys think about them? What do you think about what I had to say about them? But as always, if you like this video, please do give me a thumbs up. It would just help out my channel. And if you'd like to see more content of me, please don't hesitate to subscribe down below, as well as the notification bell. And as always, don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.